Hello, everybody. Today we are here with Deon, and we're going to have a conversation with Deon regarding shipping of a South African registered vehicle to the EU. And Deon, just introduce yourself and tell us where you are right now.
Thanks for having us, Dennis. I'm Deon, and with my wife, Tilla, we bought one of your Iveco Discoverer extreme motorhomes. And over a period of time, we've made the decision to ship to Europe and beyond. So we've been owners of this Iveco for, about 3-4 years now. And from what was just normal sort of trips in South Africa, it's evolved into an overland trip. So we're planning to overland for the next 10 years or however long our health allows us to do that.
Okay, great. So I know Tilla isn't there right now. You are by yourself.
Yes.
So, and did you say where you were right now? It might be interesting.
Sorry, yes, we are in Sweden. Well, I'm in Sweden at the moment. I'm making my way to Oslo. Tilla will be flying back from South Africa next week, and I'll pick her up at the airport, and from there we're going through Norway. So that's the immediate plan at this stage. I'm parked in Malmo at the moment, which is just across the sea from Copenhagen, and it's a very nice, beautiful port city in the southern part of Sweden.
Yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world there.
It is.
So it's stunning for overlanding and traveling. Scandinavia,
yes,
fantastic.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, Deon, let's have a chat about. You have a South African registered overlanding motorhome, and you decided to ship it to the EU instead of driving it to the EU. And I think that's a nice topic for the listeners to listen to, and how everything happened around it.
Yes.
So I think we must start. And I know you've done lots of camping in Botswana and South Africa, and you decided to do a motorhome. I think that's a topic on its own. Why a motorhome? But if we can just go into, when did you actually decide to ship it? Where was that changeover from driving, or maybe you never had the thought of driving it? Where did the whole shipping thing come in? What was the thought behind shipping?
We initially thought of driving through Africa to Europe and beyond. But diving into a new lifestyle with the motorhome is perhaps not the easiest thing to do. There's quite a lot of adjusting to living in a small, movable home. And we thought of, rather than driving through Africa with all the complications, bad roads, the infrastructure not what it should be, we thought we'll rather ship to Europe and arrive in, let's call it civilized environment, and then ease into the whole motorhome living concept, and that will probably make it easier. So that's why we decided to ship to Europe. We looked at the cost of shipping against driving up through Africa, and if you look at your petrol costs and wear and tear in your vehicle, and all the other factors, hassles at borders and that sort of thing, we came to the conclusion that it costs more or less the same. So it's probably that was why we decided, let's just ship the vehicle, get it to Europe, go into good roads, a good infrastructure, and ease into the whole motorhome environment. So that's the main reason why we decided to ship and not to drive through Africa.
That's very interesting. I've not heard that particular opinion before, and it's interesting. it sets you up. I think it's a wise decision because it sets you up for success rather than going into a harsh environment and that there's bigger chance of failure. So yeah, no, nice one. I like that.
That's what we thought too. Looking at motorhoming on a full-time basis, it's not a full-time holiday, and many people forget that it's not an ongoing holiday. Yes, there are elements of doing the touristy stuff, but it's hard work as well. You've got to plan your day, you've got to plan your week, you've got to plan a few months ahead. So it's and the small things like, are you okay with your electricity, water, fuel, all that sort of thing. So we decided not to do it the hard way first, but to try and ease into it. That's not saying that it's easy, but it's most definitely easier to start off with all the infrastructure around you. And in Europe, motorhoming is a big thing. So it's not uncommon to see motorhomes all over the place. And the towns and cities are geared to accommodate motorhomes. So that makes it easier as well.
Great. For the shipping, so when you decided on shipping, did you have an expectation of the whole process in mind? So obviously you've never done it before. It was brand new to you, and you I'm sure you had a type of expectation how it was going to go. And I would love to hear from you what your expectation in the beginning was and how it actually turned out in the end. I suppose the end is when you pick up your vehicle in Europe. That's probably the end of the process. So how was that expectation compared to reality for the whole shipping process?
The thing is, with a vehicle like the Iveco that we are driving, it's a big vehicle. It doesn't fit into a container. So the only way to get your vehicle to the other side of the pond is to put it on a row ship, roll on, roll off, which means you drive your vehicle onto the vessel, and it's secured inside the hold, and it's driven off on the other side. So that was the one thing that we realized early on. Then one does a bit of research. Fortunately, we had friends of ours who have done it before us. Mac McLaren and his wife Linda has done it with a larger vehicle than ours. So we had a bit of experience to fall back on. We contacted the shipping agency, which is IVSS, International Vehicle Shipping Services. We just said, look, we're thinking of shipping in a year's time. What is the process? They gave us a provisional quote, and that was about it. So we had to wait until we got closer to the time. What happened then is they asked for vehicle registration documents. We filled in the document, some sort of form thing, if I can remember correctly. And they gave us a provisional month in which they expect a vehicle ship, whatever you call them, to arrive in Durban. Durban is the only ro-ro port in South Africa. So we couldn't ship from Port Elizabeth or from Cape Town, for instance. Closer to the time, they gave us a more accurate date, and they expected us to have the vehicle in the port by, let's say, the middle of February, because that was when the ship was expected. Now, what we did is we downloaded an app, a ship tracker app, and we can follow this ship all around the world. So we knew more or less when it was in, or how it was progressing towards Durban. It came from Singapore or somewhere. So we drove from Cape Town to Durban. We had the vehicle inspected or cleared by a customs agent. we drove to the port, we handed the key to the port security, and that was it. They put the vehicle on the ship. Well, actually, they gave the keys to the drivers of the ship itself, and they would drive the vehicle onto the ship, and we could follow it from Cape Town to Zeebrugge in Belgium. Now, there are various ports in Europe where you can ship to. We thought Zeebrugge is the most convenient. So we could track the ship all the way up to Zeebrugge. We flew over to Amsterdam, then drove down to Belgium, to Zeebrugge, and we waited for the vehicle there. Once it was in the port, it took a few days for it to be cleared, because a ship like that transports 3,000 different vehicles of all shapes and sizes. And then at the port, it was cleared. We got a document from the shipping agent, took it to the port, and we collected the vehicle. So it was really quite painless, except for the cost, of course, but it was a painless process. Nothing complicated, and everything was really very, very smoothly.
You make it sound very simple. So was it really that simple as you make it sound? Drive a vehicle, it goes up. I'm sure there must have been some preparation for you on document side with this company. You used an agent, I guess, from Durban. Was there any?
IVSS is an international agency, so they ship all over the world. So they've got a lot of experience. They organised an import permit for us. And that was about it. There's nothing much. It's not a complicated process. They do the whole lot. So yes, it was actually a very smooth and fairly easy process. I would imagine if you don't own the vehicle, you would have to have a clearance letter from your bank or something like that. But we didn't have that problem. So in the end, it was just it was really a very smooth process.
Did you need a carnet de passage?
No. Carnet is only needed for certain countries in the world. You don't need one to ship the vehicle. If you go to countries like Iran or India, some countries in Africa, you would need it's a requirement, but very few other countries require a carnet. So we've been through about 25 countries in Europe already, and no one's asked for a carnet or anything. Even in Southern Africa, it's not required. It might be required the other way around for people traveling from Europe into South Africa. I'm not quite sure about that. But for us South Africans, it wasn't required.
All right. So that sounds like a easy process, shipping your vehicle over there.
Yes.
Any documents regarding with VAT, ownership, and any complications with documents regarding that?
No complications with that, no. It was cleared by customs, and they just had the registration documents and the documents prepared by IVSS. So there was nothing else that was required.
Okay. So the agent does everything for you, makes life easy for the owner.
Yes, absolutely.
Traveler.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Was there any preparations you did to the vehicle itself?
The shipping agent requests, or the shipping company itself requests that you ship the vehicle as empty as possible. So you can't load your all sorts of stuff in your vehicle and sort of import illegally, if I can put it that way. But since it's a camper or a motorhome, things like a table and chairs and, let's say, a washing machine, if you want to have one of those portable ones, those would be allowed. We took a bit of a chance and we included a bit of clothes. We bought some non-perishable groceries in South Africa, spices and so on. We put that in the vehicle.
Some Mrs. Ball's chutney.
Yeah, some say absolutely. But apart from that, no, nothing else was required. The vehicle was not checked in the port. What we did is, because we've got a walk-through vehicle from the cab to the habitat area, we wanted to secure that. So we bought a plywood board, and we fitted that into that area so that people would have difficulty getting from the front to the back, whoever would drive your vehicle. It's not impossible, if you want to kick that out, it's not difficult, but it was a bit of a barrier. Then we also did not leave any keys to the habitat or the boxes on the underside of the vehicle. All that we had in the cab was the radio, and that was the one item that was taken out in the Durban port, I assume. But apart from that, we cleaned the cab. There was nothing in there, except then, of course, the radio, which was quite neatly taken out.
Such a shame.
Yeah, no hassle with that as well. There are other areas where, if you ship to South America, for instance, I believe that you are required to leave the keys of your habitat area as well. So that leaves it open for theft. And when we get there someday, we'll make a plan to clean the inside of the vehicle and not ship it with anything in it. But this was, we were not worried about that. Well, let me put it this way. I suppose we were worried that the vehicle would arrive on the other side and somebody would have been into your habitat area and taken whatever they wanted to. But we were fortunate nothing happened. So we were happy with the security on the ship itself. I think it's a few days that our vehicle was in the port that they might have been, that we were worried about problems. And it happened that our radio was taken.
So in hindsight, is there anything you would have done different that you can say, maybe advise something else on the way you did it to get your vehicle somewhere else? Well, I mean, we're talking about Europe, so to get your vehicle to Europe, would you do anything different next time?
No, we wouldn't do anything different. If I'd known that someone will have the audacity to remove the radio, it would have been easy enough for us to just remove it and put it in the habitat area. But it's not something that crosses your mind really. But apart from that, no. We might have taken a few more Mrs. Paul's chutney or something like that. But otherwise, no. We were happy that what we did was the right thing and was enough.
Okay, well, good to hear. Is the reason that you shipped to Zeebrugge in Belgium, was language part of that decision? Obviously, Afrikaans and Flemish, Dutch is very similar. Was that part of the thinking?
No, it was no. It played no part. It was just the most central part for us, and probably the most cost effective. I think you can ship to Hamburg as well, which is a further 200 or 300 kilometers or whatever. So there would probably have been an extra cost, but no. Zeebrugge was just there and it was convenient. It was the closest place to Amsterdam, where we flew into from South Africa. So that's why we decided on Zeebrugge.
Fantastic. Now that you are in Europe, are there any restrictions for your South African registered vehicle in Europe? For example, time. How long can you, not from a person point of view, I think we'll touch that just now, but from a vehicle point of view, is there any restrictions on time in the EU or Schengen?
I must admit, I don't think I'm not sure about the vehicle itself. I think it's been imported and that's it. There's no time limit on it. Obviously, the time limiting factor is the Schengen rule. But for the vehicle itself, as far as I know, it's been imported, and that's it. There's no limit on how long we can keep the vehicle in Europe.
So did you pay VAT for the vehicle when you brought it into Europe?
No,
European VAT?
no.
So I know from a marine point of view, a boating point of view, for example, a non-EU registered yacht is only allowed to be in the EU waters for 18 months. After 18 months, you must either leave EU waters or pay VAT for the actual yacht. I was actually wondering if there was something similar to a vehicle, a car.
That's maybe something else I should just check. I can't remember that there's a fee like that. And then obviously, EU-wise, one is in and out all the time. So, you're not longer than 90 days in the EU. So that probably that might play a part. But yes, I'm not 100% sure then about the VAT thing.
Yeah. So. Yeah, on that, obviously the restrictions for a person is obviously the 90-day rule, and it's a total. Is it a total of 90 days a year or 180 days a year?
90 days. 90 days out of 180 days. So for each 180 days, you may only be in the Schengen area for 90 days.
Yeah, and that's person. That's got nothing to do with the vehicle. That's you as a person.
That's you as a person, yes.
Okay. So that's what everybody calls the Schengen shuffle. Quite a thing to deal with, I guess.
It's a hassle. It's a shuffle, but it's a hassle. It's really a hassle. It would have been so much easier to start in Belgium and make your way through France and Spain, Portugal, and so on, and then once you've finished with Europe, you can carry on and go wherever else you want to go. But this rule prohibits that. You can only be in the Schengen area for 90 days. Then you've got to be out, and you've got 4 options. You can either go to Morocco. That's not for South Africa. You go to Morocco. You can go to the Balkans. You can go to the UK, or you can go to Russia. So those are the 4 options that you have to get out of Schengen, which is the closest countries to the Schengen area. And with the Balkans, more and more of them joining the Schengen area, the whole Schengen area becomes bigger and bigger. So you've got to travel further to exit the Schengen area.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a bit of a timekeeping. You have to make sure that you get your timing right. So you are actually holidaying, or you are overlanding on a schedule to be able, well, at least in the European area, to be able to not overstay the EU regulations.
That's correct.
Or
That's
Schengen
correct.
regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, because not all EU states are Schengen.
Not all EU states are Schengen, but they all fall under that rule. So there's no European country that you can go to go out of Schengen, even though the country may not be part of the Schengen area. I can't remember.
Okay,
one or two countries in Europe are not part of Schengen.
Turkey, for example?
Turkey falls outside of Schengen area, yes. But to get to
But they
Turkey,
are part of the EU.
they're not part of the EU.
Are they not? Okay.
No.
Yeah. Maybe I'm thinking of NATO. They're probably part of NATO. That's probably what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
All right. So, but there are obviously ways to get around it. I mean, you've done it, and I know other people that also have done it. It does probably get you to visit some countries that you probably wouldn't have done if you didn't need to leave the area.
Yes, for instance, Morocco. I mean, we never had Morocco on our radar at all. But when we applied for the Schengen visa, we had to provide them with an out of the Schengen area. And there was the UK, there was Morocco, and there was Turkey. So we decided Morocco is the closest to Europe. We'll collect the vehicle in Belgium, go to France, Spain, and then out to Morocco. So we applied for Moroccan visas, which is we got a 3-month visa. So we could go from Belgium through France to Spain, go out to Morocco for 2.5 months is what we did there. Then came back into Schengen, and that was about 2 to 3 weeks before the end of the 180-day period. So we still had to get out of the Schengen area so that we don't exceed the 91 80-day rule. So we drove across Europe, and we went to Bosnia, which is outside of the Schengen area. So we went to Bosnia, Serbia, and then once the 180 days was over, we could go back into Europe. So from there we went back through Hungary, Slovenia, through Germany back to the Netherlands, and again through France, and then again back out of the Schengen area. And Schengen the area at that time was, you had to go through Croatia because Croatia is part of Schengen, and we went to Albania and Montenegro and North Macedonia, and then from there on to Turkey. So, you take into consideration how many kilometers you drive just to get around the Schengen area. It's a lot of travel. It's a whole lot of travel. We probably drive double of what people travel who don't have that problem.
And I'm sure that visiting places like that is an eye-opener. So
absolutely,
yes, it's a lot of travel.
Yes,
but it must also be quite an eye-opener to see all that different culture that you probably didn't expect to see in the first place.
Absolutely. I mean, we grew up in South Africa. You hear of the Yugoslavian countries, as it was known at the time. It's an unknown factor. And even though in the last 20, 25 years it's opened up to the world, so to speak, you still don't know what it's like, what to expect. And it's really, there's some beautiful countries there, some very interesting people, very interesting places to see, interesting experiences. And then you go to a place like Turkey, which is, it's one of those places you think, oh, okay, well, let's go and see what it's like. And it was one of our best countries that we visited. Even a place like Morocco, which we thought, it's an out-of-the-way place. Morocco, it's not well known to us in South Africa. And it was really very, very enjoyable. Friendly people, you can almost travel where you want. Interesting places to see. So, yes, it forces you to go outside of what we wanted, the area we wanted to ease into. Europe, which is civilized, or first world countries and so on. And then you move into a place like Morocco, and you see, well, in many aspects, they're way ahead of where we come from in South Africa, so interesting and certainly an eye-opener.
Yeah, maybe we can do another talk some other day about the actual cultures of a country, and then from a motorhome point of view, how that might be different to other tourists or other travelers in the area, where the motorhome experience will get you a better experience with the people.
Yes.
I think that might be a nice topic for another talk.
Yes, I think so.
I just want to touch, I think, lastly, on the vehicle. You've got a reasonable sized vehicle. It's not a small vehicle on European standards. How is it driving this large vehicle around Europe, towns? I mean, It's tightly packed in Europe, narrow roads. Is it doable? I've had some questions through the years for people to go, but this large format 4x4 motorhome, we can't drive it around Europe. So do you have any comment on that?
Yes, absolutely. It's an interesting experience to drive a big vehicle like this. In certain aspects, which we found in Botswana, is this vehicle is not much wider than your Land Cruiser. So we thought, going into Botswana on the narrow roads, we didn't have a problem. It's the same wheel, almost the same wheel tracking size as the Land Cruiser. So we didn't have problems there. Coming into Europe, we've got a GPS. So, and it's got a setting that says your vehicle is this size and that length and so on. And that would prevent you from driving into towns where you should not really be going into. But we found that we missed quite a lot of the essence of the smaller towns by using that setting. So we switched it off, and that has landed us into problems from time to time. We drive into a narrow road, and having to maneuver out of there is a bit of a problem. But not really. I think if you look at anything bigger than this, you will have a problem. We met up with an Australian couple the other day, and they've got a 12-ton or whatever ton man truck, and I can see that that's not the sort of vehicle I would like to drive on these roads. It's just way too big. It's nice and comfortable to have a big vehicle like that, but it will certainly you will certainly have problems getting in everywhere. Our vehicle is not much bigger than the normal or quite a few delivery trucks in the towns or cities in Europe. So wherever they go, we can go too. And when we drive, you drive down a street and you think, well, sure, the street is narrow. And then you see a bus coming the other way, and you think, well, if the bus can go down this road, why not us too? So, yes, as I say, we've come across once or twice in narrow spots. We've been down a road where the GPS takes you, and we want to be on the road on the other side of the valley. And halfway down this narrow road, we came across a sign that says height restriction 2 meters.
2 meters?
2 meters, yeah.
That's not much.
No, just through normal cars can go through there. So we were, once we got down to where this little tunnel was, we had to turn around. And at the time we got there were no other vehicles. There was a narrow space for us to turn around. And once we started that maneuver, cars just piled up from every side of the road. So it's a bit embarrassing, but you learn to just look the other way and do your thing and drive off. That's just how it is. But no, this vehicle is not that much bigger than. It's not too big to drive on the roads here. We have found that it's sometimes to our advantage, because one can intimidate, especially if you drive in countries where your road users do what they want, like in Morocco. So they do what they want, we intimidate back, and that works for us. In Europe itself,
so there's a bit of no standoff. You are the winner in a standoff.
Exactly. we go, and they must just get out of the way. So, and we've used that to our advantage. In Europe, people are much more patient. Not like back home, where that seems to be. It doesn't seem to be part of a motorist makeup to be patient. People give, if you want to turn into a highway, everybody waits for you. So there's, people are good road users here. And if you get into a sticky situation, we haven't had many problems with the roads here.
Excellent. I think that covers the topic that I think we wanted to talk about today. Very insightful. And it's definitely, listening to you, a recommendation to use an agent. Absolutely. If you want to ship your motorhome to Europe or anywhere else, I'm sure it's possible to do it by yourself, but the way you make it sound, how easy it is with an agent, I think that's definitely the recommendation. It seems peace of mind like that.
I'm not sure you can do all of shipping by yourself. I think you have to use an agent in some other
Somewhere
stage.
along the line,
Yeah. But it's I think it's worth paying the fee, whatever the fee is, to use an agent. It's just you have peace of mind, and you have experienced people doing this, like IVSS. It's just way better to do it that way.
Deon, thank you very much. It was a fantastic conversation, and it's amazing what technology can do for us. You were sitting all the way in Scandinavia, and I'm here in Cape Town, and we can have a conversation like this,
Absolutely.
as if you're sitting next to me. Fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely like it. We must do this again.
Yes, let's do
All right,
that.
Deon.
I'm happy to share a lot of what we're doing, and yes, let's do that. Thanks for having us, and we'll chat soon.
May I also say to the listeners that the beauty of this conversation is also held on Deon's side in a motorhome. So he could be driving. I'm sure he was driving this morning somewhere. He pulls off, has a conversation, or does some work inside his motorhome, and now he's. I'm sure you're going to carry on driving soon.
Yes, I'm heading north from here, about 150 kilometers in the direction of Göteborg. So that's where I'm heading next.
Yeah. So another advantage of having a motorhome.
Absolutely.
All right, Deon. Thanks
Dennis.
very much. We'll talk again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Dennis. Take care there. Thank you.